Yeah, it's funny because everything is a coincidence here, right? Or is it? Is it a coincidence? Because I just met you last night, and I was like, oh my god, I want to do a podcast with you.
Yeah, and we're already sitting here set up
Yeah.
doing a podcast. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think San Marcos is a place where if you're aligned, manifestation happens really fast.
That's right. That's what I like. Straight ahead when I
Yeah.
came here, I was like, this is like there's crazy power energy here, just manifestation next level. Did you have the same experience?
So I've been around the lake for a while now, in different places, not just San Marcos, but I do feel like San Marcos is like a place where you can, do your routine, do your practices, and just align. And especially what I've learned during travel these last months, implementing it and like living my authentic self has really made me, attract and manifest things into my life here very easily. Like I can picture myself, like I'm leaving tomorrow, but I can really picture myself living here or coming back yearly just to like live here for a couple months. It's a really nice place.
Yeah, I can totally relate. But is it about San Marcos, or you said you've been like around? Do you feel there are other places you had the same feeling, or?
So during my journey, I had to work on different stuff, like my inner child, the traumas and everything that I've had, and this place right now has just aligned with everything. Like what I've learned, and like I'm kind of like living in a way the dream right now. Like everything is manifesting. Like really, like I'm not worried about anything. I'm really abundant when I'm living here. I don't know if I can say that's just San Marcos. It's just like the work that I've done till now, but it's San Marcos is fixed perfectly right now for my story. Now the big question for me is like going back to Switzerland, for example, is can I still have this abundance and continue growing in this way, or is it really also the energy of this place, which I believe the energy is amazing. I mean, the lake, the volcanoes, and everything is amazing here, anyways, and the people that you meet. I think that's more of it to it, the people, because I feel like maybe in Switzerland it's not that many of not 90% of the community is consciously working on themselves to grow like they're doing here, so it's a different experience, I think.
Oh, I love hearing your story. That I hear that you have been on this journey of discovering yourself and working through your traumas. How did this journey start for you?
Well, I was working in Switzerland as an insurance salesman, and the thing about that was like it was good money and everything, and the only reason I did it, like I'm not a big fan of working 9 to 5, I've never been, but I was never conscious of these things, of these thoughts in my inner child and why my heart didn't want these things. I was just kind of following what was the right thing, and I was still figuring out life, doing my things, but ended up having a job 9 to 5, working for 2 years, and I was not feeling well. Like there was a point where my body just didn't want to do it anymore, because I feel like my body, like it knew, and my heart and everything knew, like I have a greater purpose, and I'm just just ever since I was a small child I felt very different. But like actually being like I'm 30 now, and like turning 30 and everything, and like asking yourself, what am I doing with my life? I guess. And then on top of that, like my body was acting up, I couldn't sleep, my heart was pounding, like I could hear my heart pound in my ears, I couldn't meditate. And like I've been on the spiritual journey, or like this conscious lifestyle for a time, like even before I started the job. But during the job I couldn't connect to that anymore. Like I couldn't sit down and meditate. I would sit down to meditate, but like I just wanted to get up and run, like like that's how stressed I was. My body was like full of stress hormones, I guess. And and then I just had to, like, I had this amazing meditation once in the mountains in last February, and then I went back to work. I had a week off, and I went back to work, and then it just hit me like, what am I doing? And then like a couple weeks later, I handed in my letter of resignation, and I quit my job. And I didn't know I'm gonna travel. I just knew I need to get out of here. But then on top, COVID and everything, everything that happened with the pandemic, just made me realize I need to get out of there. And Mexico was the only country that was the easiest to get in, no problem, nothing. So I just booked a flight in June after my 30th birthday in May, and just came here, or came to Mexico, and now I'm in Guatemala.
So all this happened like almost a year ago.
Exactly a year ago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, but I heard that you've been on this spiritual journey for a while now. Like, it's not that it happened a year ago.
No.
Like, you've done some meditations, and like what was part of your life before the big change happened?
So I don't know exactly when. I think around 2014, end of 2014 is the first time I was like getting into, like, I had my own company in 2015, but in 2014 was the first time I got like into sales and everything. And there I had this coach, and these coaches would tell me about like reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and stuff like this. And one of the books that was also recommended was like Think Big and Grow Rich. And which kind of was off of the law of attraction. So I got into like The Secret. So that was like the first time like getting into these, let's say spiritual books also kind of. And that was the first time I kind of understood I was always like that, because I would always hear from my friends like, bro, you're always lucky. Because in my life, I'm very like, ever since I'm a young kid, I'm like, just living with the flow. And I just live. I had, for example, one of my ex-girlfriends when I was 19 told me like, you live like you're in a game, like you're in GTA, like you don't care, you just go, and you don't really care what happens. Like you don't think too much. You just, if you want to do it, you do it. And that's always been my thing, and I've always like very positive mindset of like, if I do something, I'm like, I will work anyways, like I was always like that, but I was not conscious that was like, there's a term for that. There's like more to that. And that was like the first time getting in like in The Secret. I'm like, oh, this is what I've been doing. Like that's why everything's been working out for me, because I always believed it would work out for me, But I never knew about these things. So that's when I got interested in it, and then I got like deeper and deeper into these things, and affirmations, meditation, and then just if you start going into, you're conscious of these things, and these people, you attract these people. So I had like different teachers come into my life. I had this very good acupuncture therapist, and he got me really deep into meditation and taught me about like, the parasympathetic nervous system, how you can, switch from your stress to like healing, so that if you meditate, or even when you're walking, and how to breathe, and all these things, where I got deeper and deeper into it, to a point where then I would practicing this like in my daily life, where I had like a routine, because one day, like, knowing all these things was good, but like, you have to also practice it. And I started practicing. I think there was like this point where I would sometimes wake up at night. It's really weird. I don't know if you've ever had this, but sometimes just middle of the night I would wake up and I would feel like my life is a total mess. Just middle of the night, it would be sometimes 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning or something. I would just wake up and I would just feel like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like I don't know. I have these things, and that was one of the turning points that I had. I'm like, I have to do something, because like I'm not totally happy. And then like I stopped the business too, because I was like in finance. I didn't really want to do that. Like it wasn't like really fulfilling my purpose. It was good for that moment, what I learned, but it wasn't really fulfilling my purpose. And then I said to myself, I don't know if you know Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza?
I haven't actually.
You should look into him. He's really interesting. I'm also reading a book right now from him. It's called Becoming Supernatural. And he talks about like how, habits make you, your daily habits and everything. And then there's also this other teacher, so Joe Dispenza, and the other one was Dandapani, and he's a monk, Indian monk. And I used to watch a lot of videos and get inspired by them. And then it made sense to me, like, if you every day get up in the morning and do the same things, you're gonna have the same day, so you're gonna come to the same results. That's like, if you're baking a cake and you're using the same ingredients, the same temperature, everything, the same recipe, you're always gonna get a cake. If you want a bread, you're not gonna get it. Like, you have to change the ingredients and the procedure to make a bread. So that kind of clicked to me. And then what I usually do, I don't know, what is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
I have a very strict morning routine.
Yeah.
But I change it up
Mhm.
like according to how I feel. So,
Yeah.
but I have like few things set up. So it's super important to me, the morning routine.
Okay.
Like it changes my day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I used to always get up and get on my phone. That was like the very normal thing to do. Like, you know, just get up. I mean, if I'm honest with you right now, I do it right now too. But I've switched my perspective on routine now. It's a different thing. But back then I needed to be very strict with me. So I told myself like I'm gonna stop that. Like, you know, checking my phone when I get up. And then I got up in the morning, and then the first thing I want to do is pick up my phone, and I'm like, no, I need to stop. And then I want to turn on the computer. I'm like, no, I need to stop, because I want to, like, you know, like, or like listen to music, like all these things that are like, you're like not really conscious of doing things. You want to just feel noise, you know, somewhere in the background.
Yeah.
Exactly, distraction. And I'm like, shit, like I was going crazy to a point where I'm gonna walk out the house. So then that became a routine. Every morning I would get up and just walk out of my house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
walking is very therapeutic.
Yeah.
So.
I would do it barefoot, and like I live like very like this, like very much greenery. So I would just walk out barefoot and go walking for like half an hour, very like conscious, slow, you know, walking and just thinking and watching the birds and everything. And then that became my routine. Every morning, just going for a walk, barefooted, right out of bed. Like get out of bed, go to a walk. If maybe use the bathroom, but just go outside. And then I would meditate. And then I eventually started doing a little bit of sports in the morning, you know, and that became kind of my routine, which I really stuck to for like 4 months or 5 months, which was very shifting in my life. Like that was a point where I sat down, I made a plan, and I told myself, okay, I need to change stuff, and that really helped. But then one of the things, because I was in financial debt at that point because of like the businesses and everything I did, and one of the things that happened is like, one of the things that kind of manifested then was a job. And that was the last job I had.
Oh, okay.
And having the job made me then lose my routine. And I was so attached to that routine that everything fell apart, you know, and I stopped with the routine. Which now I learned is not that good thing. Like now I don't have a strict routine anymore. But I do daily meditation, I do everything, and I'm very like centered. But it's not to a point where like I need to do like this, because that gives me the, you know, the small danger, I'm gonna say, of like, you know, if you're not doing it, then feel like, oh, I failed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that to myself anymore, so I'm not strict with myself anymore. I just go with the flow, but it's important to like be conscious and be like, oh, I need time right now. I need to sit down and meditate, you know, and do these things. But yeah, that's how like I got a job, and then during the job I would get up at 4 o'clock to do still my 2-hour routine in the morning before I go to work. And I was really like, you know, centered and everything. But the surrounding at work was not really feeling what I was, you know. It was very hard for me to connect with the people because they were like in the morning very grumpy. But I was in the morning meditated, 2-hour routine, very centered, you know. And all these things, you know, it kind of, it was like, it made me like feel like I need to change to be accepted into that group. And I wanted to be accepted into that group because I had a job and I was in a team. So I changed my stuff, and then I let go of everything slowly, and then I became like really miserable, and then, you know, just got into work and money. I paid off debt and started saving, and like I was so focused on the money and the success, you know, that yeah, my body was like, yo, what are you doing? Like, get out of there.
Oh my god, there were like so many important points I'm trying to
I'm sorry.
So like I wanna just like come back a little bit to touch some points.
Please.
The power of habit, super important. And like I hear it from your story, you know, that you're a person who is trusting life, who you kind of had very big intuition, I feel, like since even being aware of all the secret and like attraction law, you kind of were living by it, right?
Exactly.
Like so interesting.
Yeah.
How like you're doing things intuitively that you don't have the knowledge or the science behind it.
Exactly.
Let's say. And but the other point you said that when you were changing from the flow, like you were very conscious on changing the habit, like you had to have a plan. So I feel that at some point in our life it is so important, if you want to make a change, to actually be strict about it. because otherwise, like, the habit takes over. Like, we will never change the habit.
Yeah.
And now you like rounded perfectly your story. Like, once you have the habits and you have it in your body, how it feels, like how much better it makes you feel, then you want to be a bit more again in the flow. Like, you don't want to get too strict, right?
Yeah.
But what like, how do you see it? Like, could you make the change without being that strict at some point, or it had to be like very conscious shift?
I think you do have to be strict when you're like want big change. I do believe that. Like, see, this 9 months I was never really. Well, that's not true. I don't know if you know what semen retention is. So like conserving your sexual energy. So I did that for 3 months. Like while traveling, I was conscious about like not having any sexual relations or anything for traveling.
Of course.
I just wanted to, because I wanted to be like, okay, I need to focus. So I think it's about focus, right? At the end of the day, where energy, what is the thing there? Where energy goes, I don't know what it is. If there's a saying where energy flows, focus goes, or something like that. And,
It's where you focus, the energy flows.
Exactly. And I needed to, like, I mean, anything, it costs energy. Everything costs energy, right? If you're talking to people, meeting people, everything. So I had to be strict about some things. Like, for example, like boundaries. I think it's boundaries. I was thinking about it today, actually, because even going back now in Switzerland, I'm gonna have to set boundaries, otherwise it's gonna take over, and then I'm gonna like lose myself. And for me, the most important thing is to be myself and be authentic to myself. For example, when I started traveling, like, I love my mom and we have a very good relationship, but I told her, like, yo, I don't want to talk to you at all. Like, I will call you, don't call me. Like, and then she would call me at the beginning. I was like, I told you not to call me. Why are you calling me? Like, I made it like a thing. Even though I love her, like, I told her, listen, you're not calling me. If I ever feel like calling you, I would call you. And then I would only talk to them maybe once a month for like really short. Now I talk to them once a week, like, but it's different because I want to, and it's a different thing. But back then I needed that space and time, so I need to make it clear and tell them, listen, I love you. Like, if it's something life important, call me. Of course, I'm here for you. But if you just want to talk to me, I don't have the energy for that. So you're right. Like, you have to be like setting boundaries and strict routine sometimes to switch things. Like, if you want a major shift, is very important. But as soon as you have these shifts and everything is flowing, then you can kind of let go. Because I still feel like the big danger is, like, I know so many people that, like, they set like intentions. For example, there's a new year, I'm going to start doing this. They do it and then they miss one day, and because of that, then they start feeling like they're failing and going into this thing. And I think that's important, that you're not too hard on yourself and be like, yo, I'm a human being, I can make mistakes like that, and just keep flowing and just working on it.
That's super important point, because I believe, even me, that I'm like I love my morning routine. I know that I have to do it because otherwise my day is gonna be fucked. But like, there's still days I skip it. And it's normal. Like, I'm not gonna beat myself up for it. I can be an observer and say, like, okay, what's this day is going to look like that I didn't do my routine. But I'm not gonna beat myself up because we are humans. Like, I mean, we always have to grow, right?
And I think that's important what you just said, like, observing. What does it do when I skip a day of meditation or routine? Like, I try to never skip a day of meditation. Sometimes, like, it's different. Like, in the morning I don't have time, so I do maybe 10 minutes, and then I find time during the day to sit down again for half an hour. It's easy. Just go to the lake. I mean, we're in a good spot to, like, sit down and meditate. Sometimes I'm in a restaurant, I'm waiting for the food, and I need 20 minutes, so I'm just sitting down and meditating. For me, just like you said, observing and listening to your body. Did I take that time out from my mind to clear? And if I haven't, then just take the time out, because I know that's important for me. So I know meditation is something like, it's very important. Like, I need to continue. I want to continue that forever. Best case scenario. But I'm not, like, I just don't want to be too strict about it and be like, oh, today I need to do 30 minutes of meditation. If I don't do it tomorrow, my day's gonna be fucked. Like that thing.
I think it's something about human psychology also. Like, if you take it as a you know, as a must. Like the resistance comes in. Like it's so much nicer if you think like it's helping me, it makes me feel so much better. It's like you're friends with this practice, right? Then you want to do it.
Exactly.
Instead, like if you're like, I have to do it, like the resistance kicks in, I think, momentarily.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you have to like fall in love with it. Like I love meditating. You know? It's not a must anymore. Like I miss it if I don't do it. Yeah. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about this meditation. I hear you've been doing it for a while, right? It came into your life like 2014.
Let's say around. I started dabbling in it maybe in 2015, 16, but then really got deep into it maybe around, I don't know, 16, 17 maybe. That's when I started like doing it. I couldn't tell you exactly when.
So it's been like 5 years, more or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has it changed your life?
How it has changed my life? That's a good question. I'm more calm, definitely, and more like, you know, I can observe better in any situation. So sometimes stuff triggers me, you know, and then being able to just sit with it, you know, sit with that emotion and just let it pass through your body, even if it's a bad emotion, just let it through, and stuff like that helps me. And also just sitting, you know, just because I think a lot of the time, especially like in the, you know, European Western culture, it's like we're always running. We always have a next place to be and there to be, and it's like sometimes you sit in meditation and you're like, oh, I need to, like, you know, after this I need to do this and this, you know, all these things, and it's just sitting, and this teaches me, or like that there's nothing to do, like just be here in this moment, be in the present moment, and just be, you know. It's very simple for that, and it helps me. And where I really got good in the meditation was like I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat in San Cristobal de las Casas in October. September. It was in September. And that really, like, you know, got my meditation practice back on track, because I really lost it, like when I was at work and everything. But doing that really, like, you know, every day for 6.5 hours, sitting there for 10 days, that really got me back into like meditating and like falling in love with meditation again.
But was it like 10 days complete silence?
Yeah.
Oh, that's, I've never done it, but like I think I want. Yeah.
You should.
I should.
That's the best thing. I've done psychedelics. Like I've done changa, DMT, or mushrooms, and everything was good teachers. Like I've learned a lot from them. But the best thing I've ever done is 10 days of silence. Because that is, like, you know, if you're on a journey, for example, DMT is like a 15-minute journey. If you're on like mushrooms, a 6-hour journey, which you have to integrate in 2-3 days and everything. I mean, it's a process to that, but like 10 days of sitting in silence, that's a real big commitment, you know, that you're doing. And you go much deeper. You go way deeper in these 10 days. And then when coming out, it's also the integration process where you learn again, and I mean, it's the best thing I've ever done, and I want to do it again soon. Like that's something I look for everywhere I go. It's like if I see something with silent meditation, I'm like, okay, I want to do this, because it's really, really something like it was life changing for me. It was life changing for me. Yeah.
But is it so? Like, let's just talk a little bit. So for the people who don't know what it is, like you go there, you have no phone, like no interaction, you can't talk to other people. Like, tell a little bit about how it is.
So there's Vipassana, which is like the you know, I think it's like 10 to 12 hours a day. We didn't do Vipassana. We did the school, like the teachings that we had was Hridaya. It's for Ramana, and it's started in Mazunte, but they have like some people from Mazunte, they started in San Cristobal. It's called the Hridaya family. And the rules there are like, every day we had 1 hour of yoga. And other than that was like the only movement you really had. And other than that, we had 6.5 hours of meditation every day. And the rules were like no talking, of course, no phone. We had no screens, so there was no TV, no screens at all anywhere. Which is very interesting. I'll come back to that later. And also no eye contact. So we were 13 people that were doing it at the same time, but we never had eye contact. Sometimes we would sit like this, eating our food, but we wouldn't look at each other. And that was really good because then you focus really on the food and you take the bite very slow, and it's like you're very quiet. You become very like one with, you know, nature, and everything's like really, I don't know, you feel connected. And even though you don't talk with the people that are around you, you are very connected to the people. You can feel their emotions and what they're going through. And that was very interesting because in the 10 days, people would go through like, I mean, I cried, I laughed, I smiled during these meditations, and people cry, you know, and people are going through their emotions. And when they're doing this, it's like, you feel it. You feel their kind of pain. You feel everything. So it's like a journey you're going to together. So yeah, the end of the 10 day was amazing. Like, you know, being able to talk again and just feel like you saw everybody going through their journey, like through their traumas, and, you know, working on it. It was really cool. And yeah, you were not allowed to look at your own. Like, you had no mirrors.
In the mirror, yeah.
So you like kind of lose how you look like, and you don't look at that. No reading. The only thing we were allowed to do was writing. In Vipassanas, you're not even allowed to write, but here you were allowed to write. So I wrote a lot. Like, I have like a thick booklet of I was writing every day. Yeah, that's about it. Like, so it was just. We had some lectures every day, but like then somebody would talk to us, but we don't talk and they don't look at us. They look like basically at the wall, and they lecture us about like these different meditation techniques every day, like an hour or two. And you had a structured plan, so you'd get up at 6 in the morning, start the meditation at 7 until 9, and then you had a 1 hour break, and then, you know, like that, like it was like structured.
Was there like some particular type of meditation? Was there was it guided meditation or?
It was guided in the sense that the very beginning it was like, you know, they would guide us into it, but then for the rest of the time we were just sitting there in silence. The teaching was Hridaya, and Hridaya is like the big question in Hridaya is, well, Hridaya is from Sanskrit and means like the heart. So it's a meditation from your heart.
Oh, I see.
And the question that we have is, who am I? You ask that all the time, like, who am I? So you kind of start to like, well, I started to like kind of, you know, get away, distance myself from my body and me, and like, you know, get more to the soul, and then you get connected to the consciousness, and it's like, you know, you go very deep and very deep into the silence and into the, yeah.
But what's the point of not looking at other people? Do you know?
I think communication. So the whole point of the silent meditation retreat, it should actually be like if you're going into a cave by yourself. That's the idea behind it, right? If you're in a cave with yourself. So that's why you don't look at people, because eyes communicate too, right? So like I can communicate with people with my eyes, and you're not supposed to communicate because what happens in these 10 days, at least for me, what happened was like I had my inner voice, my heart, or whatever you want to call it, your higher conscious something. I would have conversations with this, you know. I having conversation with this other voice, because I was so silent that I had to, you know, there's this other voice in my head having conversations with me.
That's so awesome. You know? Like, I look at your face, it just brightens up. Like, I'm sure you had like amazing experience.
It was amazing. Like, if there's something I would tell anyone to do once in a lifetime at least, please do a silent meditation retreat. That will like change so much for you in your life.
But was 10 days like the optimal, or you could stay longer or shorter, or?
They only had 10 days, the ones that they did. I know that here they have solitary retreats for like 21 days or even longer. I would love to do 21 days or 30 days.
You feel you could go longer?
Yeah. Silence was not the problem at all. Like, I thought it was gonna be. I mean, I did. At the end, there was a point where I was like, I would love to sing, you know, because I love singing and making noises and, you know, just being me. But the silence wasn't the hardest part. The hard part was like sitting in meditation for 6.5 hours a day. Because it's the like sitting, you know, like back pains come, shoulder pain, you're like, your everything starts. Yeah. So that was kind of hard sitting. And then integration was really hard. Like going back into society, that was very hard for me. Like having people talk to me and, you know, all this noise around me, and then seeing, like I connected really with my heart, really. And then like going back into San Cristobal. Have you been to San Cristobal? So, I mean, it's like here, you know, you sometimes see the locals and you see like this contrast between like the locals, how they live, and how like, you know, they're, you know, they need to kind of work like hard for their money, or like fight for money even. and then you see the people that have money spending the money here, you know, and then it's like a very big contrast, and especially coming out of there, my heart was hurting. Like, I was really like very like I remember talking to the people, we stayed friends, you know, the people that we were in the meditation together, and I would say like, ah man, I can't handle it, because I see kids, like for example in San Cristobal, it's a place where kids come and like they you know, want to sell you stuff and everything, and some of them cry even to like make a sale, you know, and that really started to like really, I had to like get my own place. I got an Airbnb for like 2 weeks and just got away from everything, because it was like I need to process everything. It was a really
but I think it's so important that you just don't jump back into the society, because you are so much more like vulnerable to everything that's outside, because you're really connected now to yourself, right? So I think it's super important. The integration. So, but do they have some integration like techniques that they give you, or do they tell you something?
Yeah, like at the very end, they told us stuff, you know, like how we should go back into society, and especially like also the meditation practices. Like, of course, we're not gonna do 6.5 hours, you know, when we go back. But it's still, you know, it's a thing, because like that was the first time I did a retreat like that. But now knowing this, I think when I do a retreat again, that's what I want to do, and also it's gonna be easier to integrate, you know. I know what to expect and what is good for me. So everything, you know, it's just work in progress. And that's the way I'm kind of looking at it right now. Going back to Switzerland, I feel like I did a 9-month retreat, you know, away from home. And now going back, I'm gonna have to integrate again. And you know, I was even thinking maybe like going and for the first 2 weeks getting an Airbnb and not even like going to my family, because you know, to integrate back into the Swiss society, and then slowly go back to my family and friends, and you know, then go out in society and talk to people, because the mindset is different, and they just got out of the pandemic, you know. They just like last week is when they had like everything relieved, so they're just going back, and I kind of skipped out on it. I was 9 months, you know, traveling Central America, and
Okay, so you've been traveling for 9 months now.
8.5. It's gonna be 9 soon.
But did you plan to do the silent meditation, or it just came into your life while you were traveling?
No, I did not plan. So what I wanted though was like, when I left Switzerland, in my head, what I wanted was like peace, quiet, and silence, to be able to start my meditation again and start like listening to me again. But of course, you know, I got here and I started in Yucatan, Quintana Roo, in Mexico, which is like, you know, in Playa del Carmen mostly, and then Holbox, and it was like party places, beach party. So, you know, me coming from Switzerland where everything was closed anyways, of course I got into that too, you know. And then 2 months down the road is when I started noticing, oh fuck, I'm like, I mean, I had fun, but it was distraction fun. I didn't really like, if I would have went back home then, I would have been miserable again. But in that moment, I made a conscious decision. I'm like, because I felt really bad, and then in my head was like, okay, let's move to the next place, you know. But then I'm telling myself, no, wait, if I'm just keeping on moving to places, I'm just running away from my actual problem, stimulating myself externally to get away from the pain and whatever I have inside of me. So it's funny, I met this girl in one of the hostels, and she was from Tulum, and then she sent me a flyer to this silent meditation retreat. And I wanted to go in August, but then I caught COVID, and then I was in bed for a week, so I missed out. And then I went in September, or end of August, to San Cristobal, and I kind of forgot about the silent meditation retreat. And then I messaged them then, so they messaged me again, and they told me, I'm like, oh shit, it's like, I was in Palenque in the jungle with a friend, and we were gonna go do a road trip, and that's when I noticed the silent meditation retreat is like in 2 days. So I'm like, oh, I wanna really do it. And then there was this moment where I'm like, okay, do I really wanna do it? And I got really good at this during traveling, where, you know, like, cause traveling, I've noticed there's a lot of people traveling for different reasons. And people, like, you know, want to see more stuff, or they like want to do so much, like they want to hike this volcano and do that and go diving, and oh, you haven't been there, you have to really go there, you know, this FOMO, fear of missing out. And I had to like always sit back and take a moment and be like, okay, what is the intention that I'm here? I mean, the intention is I want to heal myself and, you know, connect with myself. And when I go back, I want to be, you know, happy again in a sense. And just doing like the volcano is nice, but it's not gonna really deeply, you know, work on my happiness. So in that moment, I'm like, so what is the intention? The intention was, like I said, when I wanted to, like when I started traveling, I was telling myself I want to go into solitude. I want to like that's how I was picturing Mexico, like going somewhere like here, you know, in a cabin and being alone with myself. But I didn't do it. So I'm like, okay, this is the chance. I have to do it. And then like a day before, I told them I'm coming, and they said they have space, and I went. So yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that happened. Like for example, I don't know if you see this here. Like I cut my finger really deep.
Yeah, that's a big scar.
Yeah, it's a big scar. In Palenque, they had like one of these fans going around, and I was taking something from the side, and it just cut me, and it was like this big slice, like it was, yeah, and it was bleeding. And that was like 2 days before the retreat, so all these things happening. I'm like, should I go and not go? And then I'm like, no, I have to, because this is, and that was the best decision ever, because that really changed my life. Like it changed the relationship with my parents, with human beings in general. Just having compassion more, understanding why people are behaving the way they are behaving, why people maybe might be able to show love, why people are having this much hate in them, you know. And like it's all about inner child. Like if you go deeper and deeper, it's all about this inner child that never got what it wanted and never got the love that it wanted, you know. And understanding this makes my life much easier, communicating with people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is something that came to you while you were doing the silent meditation?
Yeah, well, I connected really deep to my inner child. And connecting to my inner child, maybe connecting to my mom's inner child, for example, because I had some issues with my mom, like nothing, you know, like more on the emotional level, you know, just the way I was raised and everything. And then I started understanding, like my mom was 21 when she had me, so very young, 22. And understanding that she was a child herself and had her traumas passed on from my grandma, and I knew my grandma, so I knew how my grandma was. So then going into my grandma's inner child, like my grandma lost her husband, like my mom's dad. My mom was 3, her dad passed away, right? So my grandma had to like raise the children, 2 children by herself in Sri Lanka, and like all these things, you know. And then you just really going back into like really deep into meditation, into like inner child, and understanding, like connecting your inner child with their inner child, you know, it's like makes you start to understand, oh, this is what they went through, this is what they felt, you know, and this is why they did it. And then you start having compassion. And yeah, there's a lot of little stuff. I don't know if you have time to go into everything, but there's like this one thing that I met this girl in San Cristobal 2 weeks before I did the silent meditation retreat. It's crazy how like everything aligns, you know, everything like happens when it has to. And she showed me this technique, because I was talking about this thing that I had with my mom, because I really didn't like it, like because it was to a point where my mom would call me, and I would like, even in Switzerland, I wouldn't want to, but like it was always like, what do you want? Like when I pick up, it's like, what do you want? Not like, hey mom, how are you, you know? It's like, leave me alone. And I didn't like that. Like I was conscious that I had this, but I didn't, like I couldn't forgive, I couldn't let go of that feeling. And we did this thing, I don't know what the name of it is, but like you align, like if I have an issue with you, I draw like 2 people, like stick figures, and then I connect the chakras, my crown chakra with your crown chakra, my 3rd chakra with your 3rd chakra. You do this connection. While you're doing this connection, you're also like understanding, because you understand your throat chakra. I know how that feels for me, this energy point here. And then when I connect to yours, I can identify with your energy, especially if you're doing it with people that you really know, like my mom. I kind of, you know, connect to her, because I know the feeling of my chest, you know, like my solar plexus chakra, for example. So in the similar way, I can relate to hers. And then you kind of cut, like you rip the paper apart, and it's like a whole procedure. I did this 2 weeks ago. Then I, you know, was at the silent meditation retreat, and I felt really connected to my mom, you know, and that point where I was able to even go deeper in that connection. And
so it was like an introduction to the meditation. Like amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's and then I don't know, it's called Ho'oponopono, I think. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's like I'm sorry. There's 4. I forgive you.
I
Thank
know,
you.
it's
I
so
love
powerful.
you.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so powerful. But that's a type of meditation, isn't it? Or
It's
where do you use
it's
it?
kind of She showed me this girl that I met.
Okay,
I just
okay.
knew her for 2 days. It's interesting. Like while traveling, you meet these people, and they're so interesting. You sit down with them for one coffee, and then you have these deep. Sometimes it feels really liberating to have these deep conversations with them, and then they can give you really good insight. And this is what she did. She did this ripping thing, and then she told me about this Ho'oponopono thing, and she told me just just say that and forgive that. And then when I was in the silent meditation retreat, I said that to my inner child. So I told my inner child, I'm sorry, I forgive you, and thank you, and I love you. Like I was able to tell that to my inner child. And then I went to my inner child of my mom, and I was allowed to say that. And then I went to my inner child of my grandma, and I was able to say that, And that's when I was like, I was filled with joy, but I was crying like crazy, like, it was like so much emotion coming out. But that was a moment that made me click. And then I called my mom after the silent meditation retreat, and we both cried again. Because I'm like, yo, look, I'm really grateful for what you did, and I'm totally okay with it, and I forgive you, and like I really love you, and it's all good. Like don't worry about anything. Like I totally get why you did everything you did, and it's all good, Yeah, and it was amazing. So like the relationship there changed, and I'm looking forward to go back. And
I'm so happy. Wow, that's so powerful because I'm studying family therapy, and like it's a soul to my music to hear that because I believe that there's so many ways to heal the parent and child relationships. You don't have to just go to conventional family therapy because you see your journey is so different, but you're still working through the same things, it's just through different means. Like I'm so, it's just music to my soul, the way you're speaking, that you get this compassion, because that's where we are trying to get, that we do understand our parents. That we have to connect to the pain, and we have to accept it, and then but the work always comes from understanding our parents. And like you so beautifully put that, actually, like you were talking about your grandmother, so it's always like multi-generational process. It's never like just behind your back, it comes from like so many generations ago, right? Like so powerful. I'm like very excited, and now that you're going back, I think it's going to be very powerful.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like I'm looking forward to that relationship change, and I think it's going to be amazing. Like that is something. Because I remember like sitting in meditation back then, and like wishing I would be with my family in that moment. To be able to just hug them, and like be like, yo, everything's good. Like all is well.
How did she take it when you made the call?
She was crying, and she loved it. Like she was happy. She told me like, yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah, that's what she said. She said she's happy. She's happy. Yeah, because it's been hard for her to like on my 30th birthday. She cried and said sorry, but I couldn't accept it. Like I couldn't forgive her. That's the thing. Like she didn't really I'm not trying to like make her sound like she's like a bad person or anything.
Yeah, of course.
It's just the way of raising her, the way that she thought I had to be, and the way I was, and she not understanding me. And then love is very conditional sometimes, from people like parents. I think a lot of parents do that, like having love as a conditional thing, where like you do this and you get that, you do like and that was the thing, I think. And yeah, I just couldn't forgive her. Like a year ago, my birthday was May, so not even a year ago. My mom, I had like my friends over and everything, and she said sorry in front of everyone and cried, and I couldn't forgive her. Like I thought it was, I didn't have much of it. Like in my mind, heart, whatever, it was like, yeah, I guess, but you still fucked me up, in that moment. But going through this, now I really forgive her. Like it's just a real thing. Like it's let go. Like it's really, I can feel it in my body and everything. It's let go. Like there's not even a speck of it. Like where I'm like, oh, she did this to me. Nothing. Yeah.
Super powerful. But like I'm so glad to hear the story, because it's very difficult actually for parents to say that they're sorry. Like usually sometimes there's so many parents who can never get to the point, and the work comes from the children mostly, and you have to do the forgiving even without ever getting an apology. That might also happen. So then your mom is a very special person that she got there. It is special. But I appreciate that you are being honest, and that you know that you are accepting when you're not ready to forgive.
Mm.
Because that's the only way you can actually make a change.
Mm.
Because so many people, they say, oh, I forgave my parents. There's also that, you know,
Mm.
like, no, it's okay, I understand them, but it's very superficial,
Mm.
because you don't want to get in touch with this pain, and you don't want to be disappointed in your parents. So you're kind of like always telling yourself, no, it's okay, I understand them, but actually the pain is there, and it comes out in your relationships. So it takes courage to face that and to say, like, listen, like, I can't forgive, I need to go on my own journey, like, I need to do something, there's something else, like, the feeling is not there.
Yeah.
So very courageous of you that you took the journey.
Yeah, I for me, I just had to, like, it was not, for me, the only thing is, like, I didn't like who I was, you know, in that sense. Like, I didn't like that I couldn't forgive my mom. That bothered me, because I'm like, why can't I not do that? Like, why am I angry at my mom? Or like, why am I, like, you know, holding this against her? Because I don't want to. But I was still holding it. Like, that was the true emotion, you know? I think that's important, just feeling what your real emotion is and understanding it. And just like you said, like, not just being like, yeah, everything's okay. Like, no, something's not okay. What is not okay? Why is it not okay? And how can I work on it? And I say that a lot because I know people, like, you know, in this conscious community and everything, they're always very positive about everything. And they're like, well, everything's good. And I'm like, you need to realize, you know, sometimes you gotta be like, because people say the law of attraction, and then they start saying everything like, you know, like, oh, everything's good, I have to be always positive, that's how positivity is coming to me. That is true, like, in the, you know, in your mindset, you should be positive. But if you're acutely having some negative experience, you have to accept and honor that experience and be like, yo, I'm not doing well. Like, if I have some kind of pain somewhere, you know, in my shoulders, I need to acknowledge and be like, yo, I have pain in my shoulder. Why do I have this pain? And how can I change it? You can change it with affirmations and meditations and with, you know, conscious stuff. You can change it with food, and there's ways to change everything. But if the first step is acknowledging something's wrong, otherwise you're not going to be able to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's something I sometimes feel. But yeah, everybody's on their journey, you know, and they'll eventually come to a point where they understand where they have to go to.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, I feel our lives is all about growth. You know, you think like, oh, now I'm good. Now I've learned so much. You know, I've been on this journey. In your case, like, I also felt like, oh my God, I learned so much. Like, now I'm good. Now the life is gonna be chill for like at least like few months. Not really. I feel that there's always next level. There's always something, like, always something else reveals itself. So like, my journey has been also not to be so addicted to the growth, because like at some point this gets like, this can also become an obsession. You're just looking for the next thing. But it's part of life, really. Like, this is also a place of acceptance.
Yeah.
I believe it has been for me. That it's part of life. Like, the growth never ends. The challenges never end.
100%.
Like,
yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah, it was. That's why the spiral is very important for me.
But that's it.
For me, it's for growth, like you said, constant growth. You know. And sometimes you're inside, and life is always cycles. I always like to say, you know, like, everything cycles back around, and it just gets better when you're consciously working on it. You know, it gets better and better, but you have to work on it. And sometimes even the lows become even worse sometimes. But that's how you go high. At least from my understanding, that's how you go higher. You know, like, I was really feeling bad last year this time. And now I'm feeling amazing, like I've never felt before, like the amount of, you know, place where I'm right now. And I think life will always go in cycles like that. And you just have to learn to navigate through that, you know, like learn to, like, just understand, like, accept, like you said, acceptance is the key. Like, accepting that you'll have downs, which is okay, because that's how you grow. I think that is very important.
But what, like, I wanna, like, touch a bit more on your life, like, in Switzerland. Like, how did you start, like, the conventional way, and how to make this really conscious change, I would say. Because you see, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Because when you're in the system, like, it just consumes you. Like, you have to be very you know, like either you have to be very conscious of yourself, like, okay, that's not for me, I need to get out. But I think most of the cases, people wait until the pain is just too big and then make the change.
Yeah.
Because it just becomes too uncomfortable. You're like, fuck, like that's not my life, I have to change something. But like, what would you say? Like, how was the journey for you? Because I understand that you were a bit also on a conventional road before. Or like going to the... Did you go to uni?
No, I didn't do uni.
But you were working, you had your own business,
Yeah,
you were working in finance, then you went to sales.
Yeah.
And like to break out of that, to be here now, it's like very different, right?
Yeah, of course. So for me, ever since I'm a young kid, I've been very like against the system. Against the system, I don't mean like you know, the government or whatever, you know, I'm just about the daily life. Like ever since I'm a kid, I've been wondering like, when can I start to live my life on my own terms? It's always been like that. And I think maybe, so I feel like every human being is probably like that, but they just maybe, I don't know, I cannot speak for other people, so it's hard for me to, you know, to say that. But for me, it was always like, and I know for a fact, my brother too, it was always like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to get up in the morning and go to school? Why? Why can I not get up in the morning and do what I want to do? Why do I have to get up in the morning at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning? You know, every morning I would go late to school almost every day. Almost every day I would go, and I would like, I was very like I would not always do homework. Like I would just not care. Like I would just, not because like I was pretty good in school. Like I was above average in school, but when I was young I was really good. Like I was top in school, but like I just didn't like the fact that people were telling me what to do in my life. Like, you know, I get up, I go to school, I come home, I have to do homework, and like, when do I chill? And then my mom would, you know, also teach us Tamil, like the language from Sri Lanka, and every weekend I was full of that. Like, I have to do this. So like, I was like, when am I, like, I would love to, you know, maybe do music. What, I don't even know what I was gonna do when I was a child, but like, I just knew I was not living the life that I wanted to live since I'm a small kid, because it was very simple, these things. So then I would think like, okay, till whatever school is done, then I can chill, you know. And then after school was done, I didn't want to continue studying or doing anything, like after like grade 9 was done. But of course my parents were like, oh, you need to do something, you know. And then they sent me to Canada. I was also raised in Canada, like before I was in the middle of my life, but that's not important. I went to Canada in high school for 2 years, and then I was done with high school, and then they were like, oh, now you should do university. But I'm like, no, I don't want, like, why do I have to always keep doing these things? Like, when can I just start my life? And then I got into, you know, back to Switzerland, and then I worked for a while, and I liked that because I was starting to make money. So making money meant, again, you know, I can kind of construct my life like I want to. I worked in like a cheese factory, packing cheese, like a very simple job, you know, nothing like special. And then my parents wanted me to study and do something, so I kind of did, you know, because they were always like, just do this, and then after that we'll let you be. Just do like one study that you have a piece of paper that says you something. And I studied software development. That's what I studied, and I finished that. You know, I finished this, and then I wanted to do music. And my parents are like, but when are you gonna start working? I'm like, you guys told me just finish this and then I can do whatever I want. And my plan was never to work a 9 to 5. Never. Even though you guys and everything that's in my life has been setting me up to this point to work a 9 to 5, I was just doing it so that you guys would leave me alone. You know, and that's when like it started like really becoming also tough because my parents didn't get me, and I mean, you know, I was just me, and then society didn't get me, my friends didn't get me, everybody was thinking like I was crazy, you know, because I don't want to work and doing all these things. It's not because I was lazy, it's just I wanted to do my own shit. Like I want to get up in the morning, like here, you know, I get up in the morning and do whatever I want. Nobody tells me what I have to do. And this is what I've been looking for all my life, like just being able to get up in the morning and do whatever I want to do. And yeah, but I had to go to school, and you know, then they wanted to do like a job, like I had to get a job and this and this. I'm like, when? You know, the system is totally, doesn't make sense to me. Because nobody's living their real life. Well, no, I'm not saying nobody, but like a lot of people back home in Switzerland are not living what they really want to. they feel like they are. And I mean, people got triggered when I posted a video when I quit my job and I said like, you know, if this is your passion, then so be it. And then they got triggered because they were working maybe 30 years for the job. But I mean, if it triggers you, then something is, you know, is probably true. Like, I mean, take time, sit in silence. I always say sit in silence, then you know what you really want. Yeah. But yeah, that's why like I've always been different. So when this spirituality and everything came to me, it was like a no-brainer for me. It's like, oh, that's why, like, you know, this makes sense. This is what we really should do. And I'm a person, if you come and tell me a theory, I'm never gonna be like, no, I don't believe you. I believe you first, then I do my research and make my own opinion on it. But I'm never gonna be like, oh, that's probably not true, you know? If I'm not sure, if I know during my experience it's not true or whatever, then I might be like, yeah, no, I don't think that's true. But usually if somebody comes, like they came with the law of attraction, they came with this and that, I'm always open to new ideas.
Yeah, actually openness is one very important trait in personalities. There's a term in psychology actually there for humans to like, you know, there's different sciences, but like openness is one of them, and it is part of our personality. And there's even a scale that can measure it. So, but it's very important, like in life. And they actually say that those people who are more open, like can adjust better to life, and it's a very good trait to have.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Cool.
But how do you feel right now? I hear you do music. You love music. Like, do you feel this is your thing, or how do you feel now after these 9 months? Like, because you are going back to Switzerland now.
Yeah.
Do you have some sort of a plan, or like?
I have no plan. Like, I have things in my head that I would like to do, but I'm kind of going with the flow right now. Like here, everything is manifested the way that I want. Like, I spend most of my days just meditating, chilling with good people, having good conversations like this, and then, you know, doing music. Usually at night I'm somewhere at a bar, open mic, or just having fun doing music at a fire circle with a drum. We're freestyling, rapping. So I'm having the time of my life right now. And this is what I feel like I was very much born to be connected with music. I feel this connection even more traveling and seeing how people react when I am doing music, you know, how much it helps or like makes people happy, and the energy that it brings to the table. I feel like this is what I'm meant to do. You know, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, it doesn't have to be on this level, you know, of like, I don't know what, Drake or, you know, it doesn't have, it's just being around people and being able to facilitate that and helping them feel good with music. It's amazing, you know, that I love that. And what was the other question again? Going back. So I have these ideas, like I would love to, the things that I've learned right now I think are very valuable, and I would love to, you know, share this to people back home, because I feel like you said, there's people there that maybe want to get out of it, but don't know what step to take or how to do this, you know. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I believe I can hold space for them to figure out the answers. So be it, you know, a silent meditation retreat, or be it like a men's circle where we get men involved, or like a unity circle where we have men and women, and, you know, where we can talk openly about these things, about like, you know, about the traumas that we have with our parents, for example, you know, openly be able to, because I think it's not very easy. I mean, maybe 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been easy for me to talk openly about these things, you know. It's just me being more conscious and confident in my skin makes me able to talk about this, and I know it's a very normal thing. And I mean, I think one of the biggest reasons, or the easiest way to be confident is to understand that everybody else is also feeling the exact same that you're feeling, you know. And that, understanding that, you know, and then you just know, just be you, and then people will gravitate towards that. But yeah, I want to do those things. Like, I want to do stuff to, like, you know, help hold space for other people to heal themselves. Like, you know, I'm not gonna heal, like, I'm not a magical healer or whatever to doing these things. I just want to give my experience, give my space, my energy for other people, so that they can, you know, work on themselves.
Well, I think it's so beautiful. Like, I truly believe that, like, I hear your story, and I truly believe that we have these inner gifts. Like, there's something there that we need to be doing, right? And then when you're doing all the other things in life, like you were doing, like your own business, like finance, IT, like sales, you feel that there's something is off. And then you just, when you get back to your gift, which for you I hear is music and holding space, like you feel at peace. Like you know that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like I'm so happy for you that you got here.
Much, yeah.
Like I'm just always so happy to like to see people stepping into their power.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm sure you're gonna change lives, and like especially there, I think Switzerland and Europe in general, it needs a lot of healers like that. I think we need to level up in this thing. But I wanna ask, did you have fear to change, like?
If I have fear still, or if I had fear?
No, you had fear, because I believe that what stops us from making the change or taking the leap most of the times is fear. So I would like to know, like, how do
if I'm honest with you, I have fear right now going back to Switzerland, you know? Like, I mean, fear is, it's okay having these emotions. It's just important not to, like, let those emotions take control of your life. I feel like, so I did, like, when I remember booking the ticket always makes it real, right? So like you have this idea you want to do it, but booking it makes it real. And 8th of June was my flight here, and I booked it like 2 weeks before that. And you know, I moved to Zurich after I quit my job just to, because I didn't want to stay in my same place, because I think that's very important too. Anybody, you know, that's not happy, they need to move out of that space. You need a big energetical shift to just be able to realign, clean your space, and start over again. So I just went to Zurich, and I started to, you know, live there for like, I think maybe, I don't know exactly, 2 months, maybe a little less. And in that time, I started to build a little life already, right? I started to have a little friends and everything, and I was also doing a little bit better than I did like 2 months ago. And then, you know, having that flight, I'm like, fuck, I'm leaving this behind now, you know, and I'm going to do this journey. So it was, and I'm like, first time traveling for this long, do I have everything? Is my money, like, well, money-wise, I was sure I was good, but like, it's still like, you know, how am I gonna do it? Because every month I was having money, now I don't have money. Am I what am I gonna do when I come back? You know, all these things already there. And then during the journey, I had like at least 2 big fears, I would say. One of them was like money, and that was like, not because like I didn't have money at that point, but because I was seeing my, you know, money go down while traveling. And then at the same point thinking to myself, I was scared that, I need to go back to Switzerland and work. So that was like this big fear that I had, you know, like, fuck, what if I, you know, go back and have my old life again? And I have to work and 9 to 5 and like, you know, do this shit that doesn't make me happy at all just because I need money. Do I really want to do that? I told myself I don't want to anymore, but what if I have to? So that was one big fear, because it's money, you know. I had a trauma around money too, because of the way, you know, money was not taught to me. I think it's very important that parents teach kids money, of how money works, the language of money. But I was never taught that really, so for me, money was always like an ambiguous thing I never had, you know, and then when I had it, it would go away very, very quick. Or it was not really a good thing back then. But I need to learn that, and then I got very, you know, nowadays I'm abundant. I'm not that scared about the money. I feel like just being me will attract these opportunities to make money. Yeah, so the second fear that I had, like the fear is going back home right now with my friends and everything. Because I don't know what's awaiting me. And so I was gonna go back in December, but the reason I didn't go then is like in that moment I felt I was not ready. I was not ready because I did a lot of work. So one of the things, like I also mentioned before, I did psychedelics. So in my first, like I'm not a person that takes drugs or anything, like if you want to call it that way. Like in my life, I've done like alcohol when I was young and tobacco. But 3 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped tobacco a way back before that. And the only thing I did was marijuana sometimes, and I stopped that like substantially too. I just do it sometimes when I feel like I want to. But other than that, I've never done any substances at all. But during my spiritual journey, I felt like I was ready to do psychedelics. You know, it just came to me. I don't know why. I just felt like it was a point where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready. You know, I'm like 30, 29 back then maybe. And then these things came to me here, And like for example, mushrooms have been like a big teacher for me, you know. It really, really, really showed me to step into my energy, step into my king energy. I feel very connected to this kingliness. I cannot say what it is really, but I this showed me that I am the king of my life and the creator of my life, and made me really authentic to who I am. And since then, you know, it's been very nice. And that was in October that I had my first mushroom journey, for example. And since then I've, you know, experimented, I've done microdosing, different stuff just to figure out what works for me. And adding on that and the experience that I had like here, you know, in Guatemala for the 3 months, I met someone also amazing that showed me, you know, my value and power. Like, 'cause I, for a long time, I didn't, see my power because people were not, now understanding is people were not comfortable with my power, who I was, authentic, and that made me then, it's like in work, made me smaller, pull back, and not show my true self. But I met this amazing person who showed me like, yo, listen, you're so this, you're this and this and this, like, and that, you know, and then adding on to like psychedelics and everything, like everything just added up perfectly. So it was good that I listened to my intuition and said, I'm not going back home yet. I'm gonna do it, because the reason I was gonna go back home was my brother had a kid in December. So in my head, I'm leaving June, going back home in December to see my brother and his kid, like when he's having the kid. But I called my brother and said, bro, look, I really like to be with you, and if I had a kid, I would want you to be there too, you know? But I'm not ready right now to come back home. I need time. And that was a conscious decision that I had to make too, you know? That these decisions I think are very important, because then there's always a little bit of fear. Am I doing the right thing or not? But if you sit down and really follow your heart and ask yourself, and that's because of the silent meditation retreat, I can connect really quickly to that, you know, heart space. And then I knew I had to stay. And now I know I'm theoretically ready to go back. But even then, now knowing I'm ready to go back, like I know I'm like, you know, in a space where I'm very healthy, mind-wise, you know, it's still like, I would love to stay here because stuff is manifesting. Everything is coming to me here. But that's what I was saying at the very beginning when you asked about San Marcos, you know, maybe I can, you know, it's not San Marcos alone. Now that I have this energy, I can maybe go and plant myself back into this old space and maybe also change that space. You know?
Definitely. We can take everything we experience here and spread it. I think that's our responsibility to do that, not to keep it here, right? To spread it.
Of course.
But how do you overcome that fear then? You mentioned a little bit that you go into this silent place, that you connect with yourself. Is this what helps you to make the decisions or the step to towards the right decision or towards the thing that you actually want?
Sometimes, yes, and sometimes, most of the times I like to just sit down in meditation, you know, or just spend a day in silence in nature. Just like I would, like here at the lake, I just go and sit down at the lake and spend some time. Sometimes I microdose, or, you know, like to do deeper meditations, and then I can do longer and deeper meditations. But I'm not saying like that's necessary, but I've done that too. But what really helps is just making the decision, you know? That, like, either it's the wrong or the right decision, but you made the decision. Like now, booking the flight, for example, you know, I booked the flight, and it feels weird booking the flight and doing this, but I've done it now. So this is the decision that I'm taking. Now I'm going back home, and maybe it's not the right decision, but then I can go back. But making that decision was the right thing to do, because when I go back now, I will know. It's like the integration, right? Like I said before, like going back from that integration, like going back from the silent retreat into society, now I know when I do it next time how it's gonna be. So now going after this first time, this long journey in my life, I've never done this, like, you know, this long of a journey away from what I know, my, like, you know, getting out of the comfort zone for 9 months, and then going back into that comfortable space. I'll see how it is. Then I'll know in the future how I should, you know, or should I come back, or, you know, in the future, do I ever want to go to Switzerland, or do I want to build my life somewhere else? You know, all these questions will only be answered if I go there. So it's a big, important step to take in a way. but you have to decide it one day, you know.
That's good tip, because that, for me it's super important that people who are listening that they can get like, you know, some real practical things to integrate with their life. I think this is like we touched upon many things. I hope people find like a lot of wisdom from you.
I hope so too.
Yeah, but I think this is one very, very big thing that you just have to decide at some point. Like, you know, the fear is always going to be there. Like if you don't decide, you will stay in the same position for the rest of your life. Question is if that's what you want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there something else you would like to share, or how do you feel about our little conversation?
I love the conversation, and I feel like there's so much, you know, these 9 months, the things that I told you has been like, of course, life-changing and big things, but in those 9 months, it's been a constant work, a constant growth, you know. I've had a lot of experiences that I learned from, and I mean, that's a lot that I said already. I don't know what I mean, there's stuff I can talk about for hours on hours on hours.
Next time we make a podcast in Switzerland,
maybe. Yeah, exactly.
In another continent.
Let me know,
Yeah.
You come there, because I would love to do podcasts actually, and that's something too. Like I would love your viewers to give me feedback on this too. Like, you know, if this should be a thing to do, because I would love to have people, you know, come and talk about these things, and I feel like these things have to be, you know, talked about.
Yeah.
And that's one thing also, like, you know, me rapping, being a rapper or a musician, you know, a lot of the times, at least when I grew up, like for me, one of the big things also was like, one of the big influences in my life was music, like rappers, you know, like I listened to a lot of rap and R&B, and they were like big inspiration for me to also like get out of the system, you know, because the lifestyle that they lived and everything. But of course, you know, there's also a lot of hate and violence and everything in it. And you know, for me, that was like a normal thing. And I think we have to like change that narrative, or we don't have to, like, I would like to, you know, everybody can do their thing, that's cool. But like, I think I would like to make it cool to be conscious, you know, cool to be.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Vegan,
I still want it.
Yeah, like I think it's, yeah, for example, like, you know, I'm vegan, and before that I was vegetarian, and there was like always people like, what, you're a rapper and you're vegetarian? Like that was, no, it was really a thing.
Stereotypes are so big.
It's like, you know, or I don't drink alcohol, and like, oh, you don't drink? Like you go party and dance, you don't drink, you know? All these things, that's so, because people think like if you're a rapper, you have to be, you know, or like, it's not a have to be, it's just the normal norm.
Yeah.
And I would like to change that. I would like young kids to know you don't need to drink alcohol to be cool. Just be yourself, you know, just be you and do you, show emotions and be the king you are, and that's cool, you know, being authentic to yourself, that's really cool. Yeah. And I want to really, that's one of the things, like with music and everything I do, is like I want to kind of set that straight to people, like, listen, you don't got to be half naked on the ground to be, you know, cool, be liked, be you. If you really like that, do it, but ask yourself, are you doing it because you really want to do it, or are you doing it because you feel like that's what people want to see, and that's the way people will perceive you as a good human being or a better human being than other people, you know? All these little things, I feel like I would love to, you know, set an example. That is for me like very important, because I feel like rap is it's been a big teacher for me, big guidance for me, and this will be one too.
I love it because I love hip hop, I love rap, and but at some point there was this contradiction between this violence and everything, and I was like, I'm getting this in my subconscious, you know, without realizing. So it's super, like, I'm very excited about your songs and for your creation to get out there, to have this rapping and hip hop in a bit different, you know, energy. Yeah. I do. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I always say that people, like, I've also had people message me, for example, on Instagram, that why, like, you know, sometimes, like, I love rap and I see it as a competitive sport, and in a competitive sport, you're always, you know, a little bit competing against other people. You want to have the better rhymes, the funnier rhymes, and I'm a big Eminem fan. I was back. Oh, I love it.
And for me, you know, Eminem always like, he likes to jab and do this and this, and that's fun. That's fun and games, and that's what I was saying before. Being authentic is important, right? If I feel like I want to be cocky and like, you know, a little bit more of my ego show up on a song, I want to do that. And if I feel like I want to be, you know, I want to make a song about a girl in a romantic way, I want to do that. If I want to make a song about a girl in a sexy way, in a lustful way, I want to do that, you know, because these are my emotions that I'm feeling. And a lot of people think, you know, because on my Instagram, I'm very like, you know, I post a lot of conscious stuff, repost stuff, you know, like I share a lot of stuff. So people fall in love with that. But then when I do a rap song where maybe I'm like, you know, saying something about my ex-girlfriend, but like not directly, but just saying like a little funny line, you know? And because I felt like saying that, they'd say, oh, why are you like that? I thought you were conscious. But that is being conscious of me, you know, and understanding this is a part of me. But I'm not like, it's coming from a good place. I'm not like, you know, saying, I'm not like, it's not full of hate. You know, it's not full of hate. It's full of love, what I'm doing, you know. It's love for the music. It's love for the craft. But yeah, it's just something funny that people don't understand. They confuse that with, they feel like if you're conscious and spiritual, you can never have a bad emotion. You can never have a negative emotion.
Yeah, that's so not true. Like, I love how you are saying it. Like, it's about being authentic. That's what I believe 100%. And I think it's such a wrong belief that, or when people come from a place that are like, oh, you're conscious. It's another role then if you're taking on, like, you have to be a certain way to be a conscious person.
Exactly.
That's bullshit.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but that's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
it is.
It's just, you're gonna take on another role to fit into some sort of, I don't know, whatever you want to.
Ideal.
Yeah, but I think authenticity is the best like guidance for us. And we as humans, it doesn't matter if you're conscious, unconscious, we experience all sorts of emotions. Even if you're conscious, the emotions will always be there. Like, there is never a point in our life where we don't feel anger, like jealousy, I don't know, the bad. Maybe we always feel them.
Always.
Yeah.
You do. Like, I feel jealousy. I feel, you know, anger. Sometimes I mean anger less, but maybe like disappointed, you know, sad, like or like but then I feel through these emotions and let them go through my body and just, it's okay. That's the thing, it's okay. Everything's okay. Nothing serious, everything's okay. Life is chill. Everybody just chill down and relax, you know. That's what I try to say.
I think what's important also about these emotions, like what makes you conscious is how you behave on them. Like that you don't start reacting, like, you know, that's what makes you conscious. Not like not feeling them.
Exactly. Not like not feeling them. I know so many people that don't feel their emotions because they say, oh, let me be positive, you know. But that's like you said, bullshit. But I mean, like I said, it's everybody's on their journey, right? And that's very important. Like, everybody will get there eventually, and nobody's, you know, better. Everybody's just doing their thing, what they know, what they've been taught, what they've been programmed to believe, and the world will get a better place. You know, step by step.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. It's been very interesting, 1 hour and a half.
Amazing. Thank you for inviting me. Really, I really loved it, and it's like, I think, perfect timing. Me leaving tomorrow, and in a week I'll be back in Switzerland. And I'm looking forward to watch this when I'm back in Switzerland and see how people are
I'm looking forward to your story now in Switzerland.
I mean, like you said, one day maybe you come to Switzerland and we can do a podcast or something and we can talk about it.
Definitely.
And I'd like to know your story too. Hear about your story too. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.